Hi, so this next project, it's like a typography project in which we're going to be putting words inside of a figure, and it's going to look as though the figure is being cut out into pieces that make up some words. So you have to find a figure, and then you're going to find 5 or 6 words that go along with that figure. Now, I got inspired a few years back. They had a bunch of these Nike tennis posters, and I always thought they were pretty cool looking, and I wanted to emulate those. So this is my version. So first thing that you're going to do is you want to have, again, you need to find a figure, and you're going to be removing all of the background. Okay, so here was if I go back to the original one, this. So this was my original picture, and the background was removed. So you can see that there's nothing in there. And then the idea is, just in a nutshell, is that you start typing in some words, and I did some modifications to the characters, as well as warping them a little bit. And then you're going to find a background. So I had this background. Originally I had this background here, but then I thought solid color looked kind of better. I put an overlay on this. I was making some decisions, but figured just having a gradient for a background was best. All right, so I'm going to take you through this process. All right, so you start off with the figure that you want, and you remove all of the background. The next thing you do is you think of, like I said, 5 or 6 words that kind of go along with this figure. So, I mean, it could be a quote, but I tend to just like to do a stack of words, so I don't have to worry about putting them in order. I can move them around if I want to. I don't want to be stuck with a phrase where I have to have the words in a certain order. So I'm going to be using the type tool. And you want to make sure that your text is pretty big, so I dragged it all the way up to 150. You can tell by the size of the cursor, so you want it to be, pretty big. By the way, the figure that you pick, you want to make sure that it is a nice clear picture, a nice high resolution picture, and the idea is putting text inside the body, probably sort of like the middle of the body. So you end up putting it along the head, or even by the feet. You could see the area is not going to be as big, but the torso area is probably where you want to be focusing on. So I picked some text, or I made a text layer, and I have the right size. I also am going to be very cognizant of the color. I want to make sure that it's going to be clearly seen. So I want to make sure it's a bright color that's quite different than what the figure is. So I am now going to pick a font, and you want a font that is very thick. Okay, so I used fork. So when you start typing, you're going to type out a word. So let's go with Homer, and I have it all caps. So it's at this point, if you want to stretch it out and figure out where, pretty much where you want it to be, more or less. Let's say I want the Homer to be up on top right here. So I'm going to zoom into this area. So the idea is that you want these words to extend the length of that area, and then some. Don't want the words to be teeny tiny in the space like this. It's kind of nice when they stretch out along the edge here. Okay. Now, I'm going to mess with some of the settings in character. So to get there, if you click on this icon right here, if you happen to have it, that's the character window. Or you can go to Window and click Character. So character shares the same window as paragraph, but you want to be on character. And you can see here, you can have, you can choose your your font here if you'd like, but I'll stick to the one I had. There's size, tracking, leading, and then these guys right here. Now the tracking is what I'm going to focus on first. If you increase the tracking, that's the space in between the letters. Okay. So you can use this bar to navigate that, or if you go on top of the word tracking, you get this icon with two arrows on either side. If you slightly drag it left and right, you can do it without that bar. Another thing you can mess with is right here. This is going to be the height. Be a little taller. And again, if you put it on top of that little icon, you drag it to the left and right, you can modify it there. And then this is the width. Same idea. So two places: tracking, height, and width. Baseline shift just talks about where the baseline is, if you want the baseline to be higher or lower, and that's just slightly bringing up and down the letters, and sometimes that could be helpful as well. Okay? You want to try to make them all bold, you can try to make them bold. I actually like them just like this. Alright, so this looks pretty good. I'm pretty happy with the location. So here's another option that you can go with. So I'm just going to get this out of the way by getting rid of this here. I can just click on the button right there. If you wish to use the Move tool and stretch it out even more, you can totally do that if you'd like. But do you see, like right now, the arm, I want this R to come out over here. Like I like where the top part of the R is, but if I wanted to, I could do this like warping if I wanted to. So, and this is an optional thing, but I'm going to show you. So the warp availability is in transform, but you see it's not available, and the reason is because this image is this layer is a text image, or text layer. It needs to be rasterized and just simplified into a shape. So I can right click on the layer and hit rasterize. Then I can go back and go transform, edit, transform, and warp. So what this does is it allows you to warp the letters. So as I said, I wanted it to extend along the edges there and kind of keeping it on a flat, straight, horizontal plane. And you can see as you mess with this, you could warp your letters. So you may want to do something like that. That's an optional thing. But again, I'm making sure that it extends beyond the outline, the contour, the silhouette of this batter. This batter is marked Teixeira, by the way. My daughter's favorite, one of my daughter's favorite Yankee player. I'm warping it a little bit more. Set that up a little bit differently. All right. So my suggestion to you is to do this for all of your letters. Now you don't have to do the entire, for example, I don't have to do this entire arm here. I might want to cut it off. Maybe I would just want to go on the pinstripes. And those are just some decisions that you can make. But I would suggest trying to get all your letters in at one time instead of doing one at a time. So how about we grab it. So we do the same thing, get it nice and close. You could change the height of it. And then of course you can go to your character window and you can make those modifications. And again, you want this to be really, really tight because all of the pink that you see is the only thing that's going to be the figure. So if you have them very spread out, you won't really see much of the figure there. And it seems that since I did warping already, I'm going to do some more warping. So I right click, rasterize, edit, transform, warp. Get rid of this character window. Make sure I'm going up to the edge there. Okay. And just like that. I'm going to stop at these two because I'm going to show you the next step. So my suggestion would be to combine all of your letters or all the words together into one layer. So I'm going to hold down the command button, which allows me to select both of these. And I'm going to right click and I'm going to merge layers so you can see that they're on one layer. I am then going to select all of the letters. So I'm going to go to the magic wand tool. I uncheck contiguous, and you can see I have all of the letters selected. I go to my background, which is my figure, and I hit Command J. And what that did is it copied, it duplicated what was selected from the figure. So you can see that's what I'm left with. Okay. So I know that I did only two words. I'm gonna continue doing all of my 5 or 6 words right down the torso. I'll probably stop at the legs. Okay, so I think I have all my words. I think I've done enough. So it's at this point that I'm going to join all my layers together, meaning the ones with the text. So I think I have 6 of them, 6 lines of text. So again, I'm going to hold down the Command or Control button, and it allows me to select all of my words. I don't think I have anything in this one. But I'm going to right click and merge layers. So now you can see they're in one layer. It's at this point that I am now going to select all of the letters. Did this before. Uncheck contiguous. Then I go to my background layer, meaning my figure, and I'm going to hit Command or Control J, and I make a copy so you can see that it copied what's inside there. Okay, so I did that part, but now I can't just leave it like this because he's missing his hands, and he's missing his head, and he's missing his feet. So I have to go back, and I have to select the parts that I missed. So I'm going to zoom in. And probably the easiest way to do this is to keep the letters there so you can see where you need to go. I'm going to use the polygonal lasso tool, and I'm going to select, and I'm going to keep kind of a straight line across if I can. I'm going to select this piece above the letters. I go to my background and I hit Command or Control J, make a copy. So you can see I just made a copy of the head. Let's move over here. Let's get this hand. Again, I'm going to use the polygonal lasso tool. I don't need to be very careful around the negative space where the checkerboard is. I can do whatever I want here. It's just going to copy the hand. J, hand. Use the polygonal lasso tool. And now I'm going to select this part here. J. And now the lower part. I can do that in one piece. Okay, so if I make the letters invisible, and now I make this background, meaning all of his whole body invisible, you can see that's what I'm left with. You can see I have all of my pieces. All right. So I don't need the background anymore. I am now going to take my words and all of these pieces, and I'm going to merge these together so I can move them into the background in one movement. Okay. So you can see now they are all merged together into one layer. It's at this point where I'm going to, I can open up a new layer. Or if you have an already existing image, you know what, let's do that. I already have an image that I wanted to use for my background. So I'm going to use this for my background. So, and I can rotate it, I can do whatever I want with this. So now I'm going to take this figure using the move tool, sorry, and I'm going to move it up to the tab, down, and holding down the shift button, I'm going to place it where I want it to be. You don't have to get the whole figure if you want to focus just on the words. Set it up where you want it to be. And again, if you find that your background is not really allowing you to see the words well, that's when you may want to try to find a different background. So I'm just going to fill it with blue, just a solid blue. You might want to leave it just solid, or if I take this and I change this to an overlay, you can see that it creates an overlay on top of the pattern that I want. So the idea is you want to be able to see it. I think the darker the background, the clearer that this is going to be seen. So play around, figure out what you want to do. It's actually really good. So, like I said, you figure out how you want this to look, and that's a done deal. So again, you're going to have 5 or 6 words across the person's body, coming from left to right, and or, you know, up and down, whatever, but you just want to make sure that they're nice and tight and they're nice and thick. And then you need some pieces for the rest of the body. And hopefully you enjoy this process. Hopefully you like it. And hopefully you find something that you definitely want to use. Okay.